Congratulations and welcome to week 2. I had to wear my special star cardigan because you guys are all absolute superstars for putting in so much work, really working hard to build these foundational habits. I have loved seeing your progress. I've loved hearing your reports coming in. And many of you are really starting to notice more energy, better sleep, less bloating. And you guys, we are only 8 days in. So I just want you to envision how things are going to feel in 2 more weeks, and then even further than that, how things are going to feel in a couple months. This is what I need you to focus on, because while we've made it this far, there are definitely going to be challenges. There are going to be days that are harder, we're busier, kids are crazy, all the things. So really focus on how you're feeling right now and how you want to keep feeling in the future. So first things first, I want to do a quick recap on what we've covered thus far in week 1. So we've started off by practicing intermittent fasting. You are probably anywhere from a 12-12 to a 16-8. And that is amazing. Again, we are really striving for progress, not perfection. The important thing here is tracking, keeping track of what we're fasting and doing our best to hit those windows. Drinking more water. Big fan. We are working out. We are really focusing on whole food nutrition, and we are tracking our food in our app, right? Great job. You are collecting stars, but more importantly than that, you're building those habits. And we are trying to do that in a way that really keeps it simple, and we want to lean into those 3 W's, right? And that's the water, the workouts, and the whole foods. And those are the 3 most important things we can really be focused in on right now. After this training, I'm dying to hear which W you feel has been the biggest challenge, and then which one has been kind of the easiest to embrace. And it's different for everybody, and it may be different on any specific day or any specific week as well. Just a quick note, if you are struggling to hit your macros right now, you absolutely can open up your eating window a little bit. It is very normal as your body adjusts to a smaller eating window and more satiating foods that you're having a hard time consuming all of it. So goal here, eat until you're about 80% full and slowly work your way up to your goals. It's not like gotta do it tomorrow, right? We wanna, again, progress, not perfection, keep making those strides in the right directions towards those macro goals. I also want you to think about where you were a week ago and where you are right now. You have made so many strides, and we're gonna continue to do that. Also, as we discussed in week 1, it is super important that we are trying our best to fill our macros with single ingredient whole foods. This is not, there's gonna be times where you have to eat processed, and that's absolutely okay, but we want the majority of that to be whole, real foods. The thing with that is processed foods are engineered to make you want to overeat. They cause blood sugar spikes and crashes. They lead to cravings. They lead to fatigue. Whole foods provide the vitamins, the minerals, the fiber, the antioxidants that your body really needs for hormone balance, digestion, recovery, all while keeping your blood sugar and your energy much more steady. It also helps to keep you full and satisfied for longer. That's why we always want to try to strive to reach for those whole foods. Again, not always going to happen, but if we can get the majority of our food to come from, or majority of our macros to come from whole foods, that is going to be incredibly, incredibly helpful. So as I'm looking at your macros, those are the things that if you're noticing that you're having to lean on specifically heavily processed food, let me know. I'm happy to give some options. I know it's hard if you're at work and you're trying to manage it. Preparation tends to help a lot with that, the planning and thinking it through, but also I've been on this program for longer, so I am 100% able to help point you in the right direction of simple switches that may make things a little bit easier. Now that we have gotten practice logging our food, we are really going to be honing in on the specific macro makeup of the foods that we are consuming so that we can start to get a better understanding of how to eat, why we're eating this way, what our goals are, and how to keep feeling our best. So we're going to kind of jump into macros a little bit. The 3 main macronutrients that we are tracking are carbs, fats, and proteins. And a total of all of your macronutrients equals your calorie goal. We do also track fiber, but that is not actually a macro, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit. So the goal here is to get our macros balanced, right? And that does take time. It takes practice. I don't expect you to nail that right away. It is challenging. It's also challenging as you're getting your body kind of used to, eating those, heavier, more satiating foods. It is important to understand that with everything we do, as I said, we don't need to be perfect. All of these things are achievable. These are like where we want to put our eyes and where we want to strive to be. It's not we have to be there. It has to be perfection. I don't want this to feel overwhelming or frustrating. If you're struggling in an area, absolutely please reach out. I'm happy to dig in a little bit more with you. The goal always is going to be protein first. We really want to focus on hitting if you can only hit one of your macros, protein is going to be the absolute most important one to hit. And as you continue to log your food this week, I want that to be your primary focus. I want you to try to get within 10 grams of your protein goals. And again, progress over perfection, get as close as you can. And if you are still struggling with that, please reach out. There are certain specific types of foods that are eaten on specific days that may help you get closer to your actual protein goals. The number one tip to get the macro balance down and truly reduce the anxiety, mental load during the day, that feeling of like, gosh, I haven't hit my macros at the end of the day, is to try to pre-log your food. So the planning the night before really does help so that you're not scrambling and being like, oh gosh, I didn't remember to pull the ground beef out of the freezer. So if you can pre-log your meals the night before or first thing in the morning, it is going to make your day feel better. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, but it truly does pay off in the stress that it relieves. That's another benefit for me, why I tend to eat the same meals. I tend to do at least 2 days of similar foods, so that when I track stuff on Sunday, I'm really tracking it for Monday, but I'm also tracking it for Tuesday. And then same thing for on Tuesday night for Wednesday, Thursday, and then kind of continuing. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. I'm checking my notes to make sure I'm hitting everything. Again, each day is a fresh start. And each meal is a fresh start. If for some reason you go out to eat and you have you end up over consuming, you end up not hitting your macros, it's okay, right? This is a learning process. We are learning. That doesn't mean that at the, for your dinner, you should just blow it all out as well, right? Recognize that, oh gosh, I overate, I did this, I didn't eat my macros as I should have, and do your best and autocorrect, and then the next day it's a fresh start. Again, what we're trying to do here is build those healthy habits versus all or nothing mentality. Okay, so this week we're going to learn a little bit more about the food cycle, and I'll be sharing with you why it is so effective and why we're strategically pairing our food with our workouts. And so for the first 3 weeks, our food cycle looks like this. We're doing 2 low carb days, Monday, Tuesday. We're doing 2 regular macro days, so it'd be Wednesday, Thursday. We're doing a low macro day on Friday, and then another regular macro day on Saturday, and then a low macro day on Sunday. The very last week of this challenge, we're throwing something new in the mix. You do not have to do it. It is a 24-hour fast. We will talk about it a little bit more next week, and a feast day. So if you have high cortisol, if you're nursing, young babies, high stress, we'll kind of dig in a little bit on who should and shouldn't be doing it. It is not required. I chose not to do a 24-hour fast during my first run of this, and I have since done it in VIP. So either way, you can be successful with or without it. We also are going to dig in and explain a little bit more about carb cycling. So carb cycling is the intentional variation of low carb and high carb days, which is kind of what I just talked about. And the benefit of this strategy is it really allows us to leverage the benefits of a low carb lifestyle with not having the negative effects that oftentimes come with that consistent low carb lifestyle for extended periods of time, such as the effects on hormones, energy, performance. And truthfully, I think it makes it really fun because you have a couple of days of low carb, which you can kind of maneuver through, but then you're not having that starved feeling, which to me leads to more binging, right? Carb cycling absolutely does improve insulin levels. It helps your body store less fat. It is so good, and it's one of my favorite aspects of the faster way. So basically what happens is when you reduce the carbohydrates, you improve your blood sugar regulation, you reduce your insulin response in your body, and you're able to burn more fat. And based on what we learned last week, insulin is the number 1 fat storing hormone. And when insulin is present, you are not burning fat. So the purpose of our low carb days is to deplete our glycogen stores. So our carbohydrate stores, right? In the muscles and in the liver, so that we can effectively burn fat, triglycerides, and stored body fat for fuel. So there is a strategy to this madness. We're not just like, hey, this will be fun. And again, the purpose of those high carb days are to refill those glycogen stores, basically letting your body know, like, I'm not being starved. And that provides easy to access energy for your muscles so you can train hard. And that's why we start talking about why we're pairing certain foods with certain workouts. And that helps to support your hormone function, specifically your thyroid, and helps to control hunger, right? So all of these things work together to help you be a better fat burner. So if you've tried a low carb diet in the past, I might have done one in college when I was like still 18, and I actually was really successful at it for a while, but then I struggled. And then I do feel like there were obviously repercussions of that, because let's be real, you cannot live that way forever. And that's exactly what most people see. You gain it all back because it's just not sustainable to never eat any carbohydrates. It's just not, it's one thing to never eat processed food, but to never eat any type of carbohydrates, no fruits, hardly any vegetables, like it's just not sustainable. So carb cycling is a great kind of middle ground that provides more balance and flexibility in your lifestyle, but also gives you some of those benefits. And by throwing in a few low carb days in moderation during the week, it helps you really tap into your fat stores and accelerate your fat loss, while still allowing you to have carbs throughout the rest of the week and let your body feel satiated, where you're not feeling like you're starving, right? Where you're going to go binge. So we do intentionally pair our low carb days with our higher intensity workouts. So on low carb day number 1, we are really working to reduce our carb intake as well as deplete those glycogen stores that are available in our body. And then on day 2, because we do them back to back, you really start to tap into those fat stores a lot quicker because you've had a day prior to that. On our low carb and our regular macro days, you will still be consuming the same amount of overall energy and calories, but the makeup of it is a little bit different. So overall, your calorie counts are going to be roughly the same, but they're coming from different sources. So on regular macro days, the majority of the fuel you consume is carbohydrate based, whereas on low carb days, much of it that you consume is fat based. And all of that is good fat, right? It's like avocado, it's like bacon, it's like that good healthy fat. Okay, so on low carb days, our low macro days, we typically say low macro instead of like low carb. Those are Mondays and Tuesdays, and our goal is to consume less than 50 grams of net carbs. And just to note, net carbs is actually the total carbs minus the fiber. So if you eat something that's really like fiber dense, it kind of brings down the carb count a little bit on that. And fiber is a really good carbohydrate, so we don't want it to count against you. Again, fiber is also something that we track, right? So the goal is to hit at least 25 grams of fiber a day, and that really helps with your digestion, all kinds of other stuff, which we'll jump into here in a minute. If you are pregnant or nursing, have thyroid issues, vegan, vegetarian, there are some differences on that we'll talk to on a one-by-one basis. So here's just a general example of what a low carb day should or might look like. So we're going to have a higher fat, a medium protein, and a lower carb. So that is something like whole eggs and bacon. Maybe a little bit fattier of a meat. So if you want to eat ground beef, that's why oftentimes we do burger in a bowl on those days. Lots of avocado, lots of like all of those healthy fats. So it is common after 2 days of that to have a little bit lower energy, to feel a little bit more depleted. And that is normal. That's because your body is detoxing from becoming a sugar burner to a fat burner. It's a good thing. So if you have those feelings, if you've got a little bit of a headache or detox symptoms, know that like, hey, this is a good thing. Like that means my body is detoxing all of the sugar, and your body will make the transition and adjust. And this will not be how you always feel. I promise. I actually am at the point now where I actually really love Mondays and Tuesdays because I can eat, I'm weird. I love olives. Like I love hummus. Like I just love all of the like good fatty foods. And I love being able to just like eat larger amounts of those. So you'll get there, I promise. This is ultimately how you become metabolically flexible, which is what we want. We want your body to be able to handle what you eat. Okay, so a couple success tips for those low carb days, right? Utilize the meal plans. I promise it makes it so much easier. If you find something you love for a breakfast or a lunch or a dinner, absolutely repeat it, right? Obviously, pre-planning your macros is incredibly helpful, logging it the night before or logging it in the morning. If you wait until you're headed out the door to think about breakfast and then you don't eat, it's gonna make the day so much harder. So being prepared is really gonna set you up for success on these days, but on every day, truthfully. Drinking lots of water. It's important to be drinking water at all times, but especially on our lower macro days, it is really, really important to load up on that water. And then just, as you're thinking about it, if you're struggling on those days, some great go-to snacks to have on hand are nuts. You do want to measure out your nuts. Nuts are great, but they can also easily be just like snacked and grabbed out of the bag or the box, and you may eat 2 or 3 times what the serving is. Raw veggies, cooked veggies, beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs, if you like tuna, avocado. You want high-fat, protein-dense, low-carb foods, right? As I said, I love hummus, I love olives. Any of those are going to be great options. You also want to plan a variety of proteins during the week, right? So the higher fat proteins on Monday, Tuesday versus the leaner proteins later on in the week. So for instance, I love salmon and I eat salmon on those lower carb days. So like Monday, Tuesday, I will the night before broil a piece of salmon and throw it over some lettuce for a salad with avocado, and I'm like the happiest person alive. Whereas later on in the week, you're eating more of like the leaner meats, such as egg whites and turkey and chicken and whitefish. Shrimp is a great one if you love shrimp. It's super high in protein and very low in fat. Again, focusing on healthy fats, they help you stay full longer, they help you stay satisfied, and they're going to help you reach your calorie goal. Those are things like fish, nuts, nut butters, avocado, coconut oil, all of those. And again, we've touched on this a couple of times. Fiber is really, really important. Again, a minimum of 25, excuse me, water. 25 grams of protein every single day. And if you go over it, fiber is the one that like, no problem, go over it. It will offset your net carbs. And it's just so good for you in so many different ways. Okay, a couple favorite low carb meals. Those are Monday, Tuesday meals. Cobb salad, breakfast, like breakfast for dinner is a great option. You can have eggs and bacon, as I said, burger bowls, steaks, veggies, taco salad, spaghetti, squash, and meatballs. A tip that I have on spaghetti, squash, and meatballs. I have never liked cottage cheese. The texture of it was always weird to me. So I use an immersion blender and I whip it, blend it, I guess that's the right word. And I will add it oftentimes to my spaghetti, squash, and meat sauce. And it tastes like ricotta when it's all mixed in there. But it really just jacks your protein up, which is great. Chicken salad, tuna salad, chia pudding, all amazing things. The goal here again is we really want to transition our bodies from being a sugar burner by burning off glycogen to now becoming a fat burner. So those are our goals. And those low macro days really do help us do that, as does pairing high intensity interval training on those days. So that's why if you're doing a HIIT workout, you want to do it on those days. So that's a HIIT, a Tabata, anything where it's really high intensity. So when you combine that with resistance training, proper nutrition, recovery, this strategy works really well to reduce the visceral fat, elicit that metabolic change we're talking about where you're being more flexible, and improve our insulin insensitivity. So we're going to help you be less sensitive. I'm saying it wrong. So your brain says, don't store fat. We have to use it. So we have to use the fat. Don't store it. So that's what you're kind of training your body to do, is it really helps you move in that direction of being that fat burner, which is ultimately what you want. Okay, so you do not need to be doing HIIT every day. This is one of the big things that we see so much discussion about, right? We do 2 days a week of HIIT. If you are struggling with high cortisol, even 1 day may be enough. If you're feeling really depleted after doing 2 days, you can look at doing an active recovery or an additional strength training on that second day. Just because your body does not need 5 days a week of HIIT workouts like you think it does, but It just doesn't. It puts a lot of stress on your body, and it's just not the best for you at the moment. Okay, we also know we cannot do low carb all the time. So that's why we pair it with regular macro days later in the week, which is great. So we introduce our heavier amount of carbs on Wednesday, and that is a regular macro day. We call that regular macro because our goal isn't high macros. It's just regular. Like, this is everyday life, right? Managing our carbohydrate intake is very important for balancing our blood sugar, improving our insulin sensitivity. And while everybody's macro goals will be a little bit different, most people are typically consuming anywhere from 150 to 200 carbs on a regular macro day. Now, here's the difference though. We are consuming nutrient-dense, single-ingredient carbohydrates, right? We are not consuming McDonald's French fries. So that's why we can have those carbs, right? Because they're carbs that our body needs and our body can use with the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants. So it's a very different thing. And I think that's where a lot of people get confused. Well, I can't have carbs. Well, no, you can have carbs, but you can't have the ones that are overly processed that don't give your body the nutrients that they need. So we add back in foods like potatoes and rice and beans and legumes and fruits and vegetables and quinoa and maybe even gluten-free oats if you like oatmeal. And we are choosing those leaner proteins like egg whites and whitefish and lean beef and chicken and turkey. We also want to fill our plates with lots of vegetables. That is going to help us stay full, but it's also going to help towards our fiber. It's just such a beautiful thing to all put together. You can absolutely still eat some of the other things. You can eat the avocado, the nuts, the nut butters, the seeds, but you just want to do it in a little bit smaller portions than you would do on a Monday or Wednesday. As I said, I am like a creature of habit. And one of my favorite things is like the nut butter and the avocado. So for me, if I can have a small portion of it every day, it helps because it almost, it helps me stay on track. So for me to have a small portion of it and feel good works, just not as large of a portion as I would on Monday and Tuesday. And then if you plan those carbs in your eating window and you're eating carbs with every meal, you should be able to hit your carb number. My favorite carb-friendly fruits are going to be apples, bananas, berries. I'm a huge rice fan. I love rice. I will, if I'm eating rice, I will oftentimes now put a little bit of that whipped cottage cheese in there. It almost gives it like a cheesy consistency, which is amazing. And then potatoes. I'm weird. I have switched myself off of sweet potatoes and onto butternut squash, spaghetti squash. Love it. Like, I'm a squash girly through and through. So again, pre-logging your food will help to make sure you hit your macro goals. It will also get you more and more comfortable with the tracking, with the portion sizes. And every couple of days that you're doing it, every week you're doing it, it's just going to get easier. And I promise, like, it's such a good thing. I will say, once you feel like you have a grasp of it, you may think, oh, I don't need to track today. You absolutely do need to track, I promise. It just helps keep you moving in the right direction. So we are pairing these regular macro days with strength training in order to build muscle, which will then help you burn more calories even when you're resting. So muscle is the key to a healthy metabolism. So typically on Wednesday, we'll do a total body. On Thursday, we will do an upper body. On Friday, we'll do kind of like a active recovery. And on Saturday, we do leg day. And when the body can easily access those carbohydrate stores for energy on those strength training days, it has the opportunity to maintain and or build lean muscle mass, right? So that's why we pair our strength training with those regular macro days. If you continue on a low carbohydrate eating pattern into your strength training days, you may feel like you have no gas in the tank and you cannot perform. And that is because your body needs those carbs for energy, and we do not want to do that. So a couple quick topics real quick. Saturdays are actually one of my absolute favorite days. I never thought I would be somebody to say this, but I love leg day. I have always been an upper body or a cardio girl, and wow, like, I love leg day. I just think because they're such big muscles, like, you can lift a little heavier. It's just great. So the most important and my favorite day is absolutely leg day. And that's, again, because they're such a big muscle group. So if you can get your leg muscles to be strong, not only are I think it's your quads. I think your quads are the muscles of longevity, because they're the muscles that are going to help you get up off the floor, sit in chairs. They're really going to dictate how you age. So being able to work those large muscle groups is just really fun. They are challenging, I will tell you that. There are still some moves that I'm not great at, and that is absolutely okay. There are modifications you can do. If you need to modify even more than what the videos do, I'm happy to help point you in the right direction. Also, when you're doing the workouts, if you don't know a move, if you scroll down into the notes, you can actually click on and see video demonstrations, written out words that explain even in more detail exactly how to do the moves. Something that I have found to be helpful when I am working out, and I will try to do this occasionally, is first of all, have a mirror there. But the other thing is I actually do record myself. And I do this for a couple reasons. One, it's amazing to me to be able to see the progress that I've made. And I wouldn't be able to remember that if I didn't actually hit record a couple times. So squats, lunges, a couple of curls or chest presses, like it's kind of fun to, like, as a starting point, do a couple videos, like just of yourself, just hide them away in your phone and just see where you are in a few months, because there's some big changes that happen, and it's really awesome to see. So, okay. On Saturdays, since we are doing leg day and we are working our biggest muscle group, we also get to do something called treat day. And we get to enjoy one of our favorite treats, right? The goal here is balance in the faster way. It is progress, not perfection. I don't ever want you to feel like I can never eat my favorite cookie, or I can never eat my favorite chocolate again. Like, no, you should be balanced. You shouldn't have a box of them every day or every week, but like, have one, enjoy it, work it into your macros, and like live it up as a reward for how amazing you've done this week. So that is typically what we will do on Saturdays. You can flip that around a little bit. Some things that people do as their treats are pizza, donut, cake, whatever it is. I'm a sweet girl through and through. Like, that is never gonna change. And for me, it is putting chocolate chips into my Greek yogurt and banana and peanut butter. I love it. Like, it's my favorite thing. So the most important thing though is you do want to track your treat. You don't want to like just go blow it all out and, go crazy, but put it in, be aware of what the numbers are, and enjoy it, eat it slowly, and like just savor it. Okay. Typically we'll do a low macro day on Friday and on Sunday. And that's just where you consume about 25% less macros than our regular macro days. And the reason we do this is to enhance our carb depletion and to increase our fat burning, okay? That's what happens when you talk for 27 minutes straight. Think same macro distribution, just slightly smaller portions, okay? So instead of eating a 6-ounce piece of salmon, you maybe eat a 4-ounce piece. What I like to do is really fill up on your veggies on those days. Choose high volume foods that are lower in calories, such as salads, stir fry, egg white omelets, soups, where you can still feel really full, but you're just not eating quite as high of a macro percentage. Again, we want to choose those lean proteins, just chicken, turkey whites, egg whites. Turkey whites, that's not right. Turkey, egg whites, tofu, white fishes, shrimp is great. On these days though, it is a little harder to squeeze in the avocados or the nut butters or the olives or the hummuses because they are higher in fat. One thing that is important on this day, but on most days, is I'm a huge fan of making your own olive oil spray. So I just bought a sprayer off Amazon and I pour in a high quality olive oil and I use the sprayer instead of pouring in actual tablespoons. So I highly recommend doing that, not just on this day, but across the board. The key to staying full on those low macro days is to eat enough macros the day before as well. So that's why it's important that we're hitting our macros. And then again, those like nutrient dense, like high volume foods. So hopefully, I'm going to jump into the next one because I'm going to try to keep it going here. Hopefully you are enjoying the workouts. Keep doing it. If you miss a day, it is okay. Like, again, we are striving for progress over perfection. You have a hard day at work. Kids are falling apart. What I will say is if you can keep your body moving, that is probably the best thing you can do. So if you can't make the workout and the day's been stressful, do the next best thing for your body and for your mind, and that's to go outside. Take a 20-minute walk. in silence, just be and just move your body. And I promise you will absolutely feel better. And track it in your app and you'll still get a star and it's great. Jumping back to the workouts. So continue doing the workouts. Continue doing it to the level that you feel like you can. If you feel like you can bump up the intensity, lift heavier, challenge yourself, do that. But I don't want you overdoing it, right? If you're at a level where you're like barely making it through the number of reps at the end, like don't push yourself that far. Lift as heavy as you can, but ultimately the number one thing we need to focus on is our form. You have to have form, right? And if you don't have the form right, put the weights down, get the form right first, even if it's the first set. Do it with nothing, do no weights, get the form right, and then add in the weights. That is the number one thing. We do not want you hurting yourself. We want you to be able to lift heavy weights, but in the right way. So one of the things I hear a lot from clients is, gosh, there is so much talking in the workouts. And that is done on purpose, okay? Do not fast forward through it. Do not power through it. There is a reason that there is talking and communicating and rest time built in there. And that is because rest is necessary. Your muscles, your body, you have to recover. And this is something as women we all need to really probably lean into, right? Rest is not earned. We all just need rest. So try not to power through or like really pay attention to how we're counting and the rest that we're putting in there and try to stick with that. These workouts they're super fast, right? 30 minutes in and out. And the most important thing is like, if you just don't show up, right? If you can only do 20 minutes, do 20 minutes and then fast forward to the cool down. Like get done what you can and just try to schedule it in. You absolutely can. As we incorporate more of these workouts, more of these concepts, we do want to really like keep our eye on the rest as well. There are 2 rest days, which are essential for our building and our repairing muscle, as well as balancing your hormones, okay? Do not skip the active recovery. It is the perfect complement to this resistance training. The mobility is great. The Pilates is great. Trust the process. I promise all of this stuff will work. It doesn't have to be done perfectly right now. You just have to kind of keep building these habits and keep moving in the right direction. Okay. Final notes for this week. Sorry, this was really long. This is a hard one. Stay off the scale. Stay off the scale. Like move it out of the closet, move it out of the bathroom. Like you do not need to see it right now, okay? I promise you, your body composition is changing, but oftentimes we build muscle faster than we lose fat. So you may very well step on the scale and see the number being up. That's not bad right now, right? That actually is okay. It typically takes us anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks for our body to truly become a fat burner. And in that process, we're building muscle, we're consuming more high quality food, our digestion is changing. You may see fluctuations. And the best thing you can do for your mental health is to stay off of the scale. It also really just kind of helps us heal. I know for me, I have spent so long being defined by the number on the scale and the number in the back of my jeans. And while it is a data point, it is one data point, it is not all of it, right? To me, the bigger drivers are, how do my clothes fit? How do I feel? How am I sleeping? How is my energy? How are my stress levels? How are my hormones feeling? Am I like jumping off and losing it at any moment, or do I feel a little bit more balanced? Those are those non-scale victories that we talk about a lot. And those are those data points that, while the number on the scale, we want it to be lower, if everything else is where we need it to be, I want you to applaud yourself for all of those other changes, maybe even more so than for that number on the scale moving. So stay off the scale. Trust the process. Give it some time. I promise we will get back on the scale, but we're not there yet. So stay off the scale. Also, please stay engaged if you have questions, if you need anything at all, do not hesitate. I am here personally to answer any questions you may have. You also can absolutely ask in the Facebook group, but I am here. I am your coach to support you completely if you are having a hard day and you need a pep talk. If you are so proud of something that you've been able to do, I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you're doing every single day. If you need help, if you need meal help, if you need any of the stuff, like I'm here. I also love seeing your daily wins. it makes me so happy to see those come over, because I remember where I was and I remember how it felt as I was getting these daily wins, and as like the wheels in my head were turning, and I was thinking, this is actually a sustainable system. This is a system I can see doing for the rest of my life and really impacting the rest of my life, setting me up for success to, you know, get up off the floor and like be able to play with my grandkids and to be able to keep up. One of the big pushes of this, like of me even doing this, is my son runs cross country, and nobody warned me that you have to like, you're running out in the woods trying to see what they're doing. And I remember at my at one of his earlier cross country meets, I was like, oh, like I can't do this, and it's hard. And to know that I'm doing the right thing every day to like make sure I'm there, and like not just there, but I'm like really present, really being able to like be involved in all the things for my kids, for my husband, for my community, like those are all of the things. So focus on that, focus on those daily wins, and celebrate yourself for rocking it this first week. So thank you guys for listening. Bye.